crazy wolf, and I also know the Cherokee term for that, Nuda Waya. A friend of mine that I met on, actually in Waynesboro, name of Grassman, was hiking, and he decided he couldn't handle any more of the trail and was leaving. And he saw my tattoo and he says, "What's that crazy wolf on your arm?" And I said, "Well, it's Wile E. Coyote." He says, "Yeah, but you're carrying a laptop computer too, so you are crazy." And I said, "Oh, I guess I am a wolf too."
Right on. And so you carry a laptop on your hike?
Yes, I do.
What's up with that?
I'm a writer, and I'm constantly updating my blog, and the easiest way for me to do that is with a laptop instead of a smartphone or anything like that. It's a little too difficult with all the changes about communications. They've changed from the Google Grammarly. I use Word, so it's just easier for a laptop for me to do my work.
What's your blog site?
I use Facebook right now, and I'm going to open a new blog, but right now it's just my Facebook page, Leonard Nudawaya Siebert. I'm doing a live on the trail thing. Well, I'm a few days behind, but
That's cool.
it's hard to keep up on your journal when you're hiking. I like to use the term change of venue. I spent 20 years working in trauma ER, and then different events happened, and I decided to become a political activist in Washington, D.C. And try as I might for the last 6 years, I couldn't get any Congress people or senators to listen to me. And after an 11-day hunger strike in front of the White House, I'd had enough, and I said, it's time for me to walk the trail. So I started off from Washington, D.C. into Harper's Ferry, and then got on the trail, and I'm headed into North Carolina to the Cherokee Reservation outside of Raven Ford.
That sounds awesome. Can you tell me a little more about your hunger strike? What was that about?
Well, it had three particular things. We had the IRS be weaponized against political people, and I feel that any federal agency weaponized against anyone is, how should you say, bad form. It's very scary because they can change who the enemy is at any time and send the IRS after them. In this case, it had to be Christian and conservative groups, but next time it might be liberal, it might be progressives. You know, it isn't right. There should be a standard for a federal law enforcement agency. I quote law enforcement agency when I say the IRS. They're really not law enforcement. They're tax law, and tax law is not law. It's not justice. The other one was for the Bundys. Apparently, Cliven Bundy and his son are being held in prison, and they have not given them charges. There really is no charges against them. They had no weapons at the time when they had no standoff in the Bundy Ranch, but apparently they're being held, and it's basically a political prisoner situation. And last was Fukushima, Japan. The earthquake that happened on 2011, April 11th, left 3 reactors basically melted down, but not just melted down now, where it's confirmed that they have basically broken through containment, and it's leaking into the Pacific Ocean at a rate of about 300 to 700 metric tons of contaminated water daily. And I was asking them to tell the truth about Fukushima and warn people about Pacific seafood, because after 6 years of this going on, it's contaminated.
That's scary.
Yeah. Well, I've always been a child of nature. I spent most of my time in the woods. I loved the Boy Scouts, and when I wasn't in Boy Scouts, I was either hiking, fishing, or hunting. And the only real connection I've had, there are a few people I make good connections with. Mostly I make them in the wilderness with the animals, with just nature itself. I feel comfortable. I feel whole. Actually happened only a few days ago in Lambert Meadows. I was sleeping. The sun hadn't even come up yet, but it was even dim. You could just see the breaking of the light come up. And I heard some noise, and I thought it was hikers, and they're getting water because there's a stream nearby. And I'm like, oh, I think I'll just say hello to them. So I unzipped the tent fly, I stick my head out, and there was Mother Bear and 2 cubs standing there looking at me. And the cubs, of course, hightail it to the woods, but Mother Bear dutifully stands there watching me to make sure I'm not threat to her cubs. And I grab my camera, try to turn off the flash to get a picture. Of course, the flash went off. Me and my camera are having arguments. But still, I had the encounter, and it was wonderful, and Mother Bear wasn't aggressive or anything. She just stood there saying, hey, those are my cubs. They're getting away first. We're done. And then she took off.
That's awesome. That's very cool. So you haven't had any kind of threatening bear encounters, just the one nice one?
Well, I've had several encounters, but none of them were threatening at all. They've all been just the bear standing on a trail, or the bear running from something else passing by me. That was a great encounter. It wasn't even threatening. It was just, I understood what Mom was doing. She was like, my cubs come first. I'm like, you're right, Mom. I never get behind a mother and her young.
That's wise. And have you met any particularly interesting characters?
I have met some wonderful people. One of them is Chocoholic, who's actually staying here, and she has become quite the legend on this website Guthook. Everyone loves her advice. She is like the premier. If you want to know where our water is, Chocoholic has already been there and will tell you. And she gives you up-to-date information. It's always accurate. And beyond that, she has made her own backpack, has made her own tent, and she hikes with this. And this is pretty incredible stuff. She was a retired school teacher and going solo. A very incredible woman.
I'm going to be interviewing her too. I'm looking forward to that. Cool. And are you mostly a solo hiker, or do you like to hike with a group?
I'm generally solo. I have a really slow pace because I'm probably about 15 pounds heavier than the 35 pounds, which is logical weight to carry. I'm pushing 45 to 50 pounds a lot of times, and so I go pretty slow. I did hike with a couple, Gross Baby and Pac-Man, and there were a couple of young kids, and they were pushing 20-mile days, and I kept up with them for 3 days, but after that I realized I just can't do this. And sitting in a privy stall, I saw the words, hike your own hike, and I said, yeah, I need to really focus on that.
That's cool. And so you're not one of the ultralight hikers?
No, I've done a lot of hiking my entire life. Backpacking is one of my favorite things to do. I've done all of Big Sur, California, most of the PCT. I've done Stampede Trail up in Alaska, and I've even done part of the Continental Divide. But this is a much more rugged trail than I've hit before, and I came prepared for long-term kind of, I'm going to live out in the wilderness kind of thing, and I really don't need that. You have so many options once you reach a town or you're near a town. As like I say, it's a more rugged trail, but you have more options than most of the other trails out there.
So Appalachian Trail, you're saying, is more rugged than a trail in Alaska and the Continental Divide?
Yeah, I really think so. Just simply because of the amount of mountain climbing you're doing every day. It's consistent. And, people like to say, oh, I'm a mountain climber. Okay, good. Have you ever done the Appalachian Trail? Because that's basically a mountain or two every day. And it's not a major climb. You're not doing a lot of 3 points, but you're constantly climbing a mountain and going down a mountain every day. And it says a lot for the trail. And I'm sure if there's any Everest climbers out there that they would agree that the Appalachian Trail is a good way to get training for Everest. Even though you're not really dealing with high altitudes, you are dealing with a constant strain on your body going up every day and going down every day. And I haven't been this toned in years.
And how do you mitigate the potential for injuries?
A lot of people use poles. I use my balance, and I take my time. I look for rocks that I know I can stand on and try to do the best I can. I have had lots of stumbles, no falls, thank goodness.
What about foot gear? Are you the trail runners or boots?
I use boots like Keens, but my Keens blew out on me. I'd say I have probably 500 miles on them, and talking to other hikers, that's a pretty reasonable expectation of boots on the Appalachian Trail. It's pretty rough on boots.
How do you know when your boots are blown out? I mean, unless there's like falling apart, I can see that.
Yeah,
but...
well, it comes on when your feet really start hurting you and you're hitting the rocks, and you can feel every sharp rock through into your feet.
Right on. Cool. Well, what do you think of Angel's Rest?
It is phenomenal. I love it. I could stay here forever, but unfortunately I can't. And this is one of the things we've been discussing. I always tell people, the Appalachian Trail takes apart things. It says, need transcends desire. You desire to do the trail, that's your desire. But you find out, you focus on needs while you're on the trail. And in the end, hopefully you achieve your desire.
Do you have a favorite zero experience that you could share with us?
I would say right here at Angel's Rest.
And finally, if you were going to give some advice to the aspiring hiker, what advice would you give?
Don't carry too much. Think about your weight and think about what you need, because we have hiker boxes all up and down the Appalachian Trail of people leaving what they didn't need. If you're not going to use it every day, don't bring it.